I've not heard of any anaphylactic reactions to a ribeye steak. Have you? Seeds and nuts are the leading inflammatory foods we eat, but we're told to eat seeds and nuts.
Enjoy this episode. Welcome, Dr. Robert Kiltz.
Well, Robert, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on. I wanted to start this off with, if you could share a bit about your background. Who were you before the famous Dr. Kiltz?
Well, God bless you, Jared. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate you inviting me on today. I'm a reproductive endocrinologist. I'm a fertility specialist. I own and run CNY fertility centers, which I like to think is the most affordable IVF center in America. We integrate Eastern Western medicine. We take care of people from all over the world. And we talk about nutrition, immunology, positivity, and I incorporate even faith and God into the conversation if people
Amazing.
are open to it. And I've been doing this now for 25, almost 30 years. I consider myself a life coach and a lifelong student, always learning.
Perfect. What did you study? I guess you've done some studies, right? So are you a doctor, right?
Yeah, so I'm an MD, medical doctor in America. I went into medicine thinking it looked like and sounded like a really intriguing field. I actually broke my leg at age 19 and met a doctor who was a hippie doctor, and I had never thought about medicine ever before. And I'm like, wow, that looks kind of interesting, and I got inspired to go into medicine. I grew up in LA, kicked out of school in a gang, couldn't read, my father in jail. That's my basic elevator speech.
Okay.
I got through medical school. I went to UC Davis Medical School in upstate, in Northern California. And I thought I wanted to go into primary care. And I did internal medicine for a year, and then I switched over to OBGYN. I liked and loved taking care of women, delivering babies. I liked the surgical aspect. I consider myself a little bit of a mechanic. I loved working on cars as a kid, and so maybe that's a little bit why I like doing surgery. But over the years of practicing medicine, I began to realize and learn that the standard teachings maybe are wrong. Plus, I personally suffered from arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, bowel bleeding, hemorrhoids, kidney stones, depression, anxiety.
The whole lot.
A whole lot of things that are just so common for so many people experiencing these things. And I kind of went through the Atkins, the paleo, the keto world, and then I personally finally went into carnivore. I almost 15 years ago. Actually, I'll turn 68 soon. I started at 55, and I feel great. My energy is like I'm 12. Still a kid who's got some crazy energy in so many ways, but I'm learning in so many ways and inspired to share and help and heal all of us. That's such an important thing for us to do.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a bit more about your clinic? What exactly do you do?
Well, I own and run CNY fertility centers. I started this 25 years ago as a fertility doctor. I make babies, in vitro fertilization, test tube babies. We help people that either don't get pregnant or miscarry or have abnormalities, or just find themselves with a new partner, had their tubes tied, or a vasectomy, or want to have a boy or a girl, things like that. But it's infertility is growing, just like all other diseases in the world, and so I'm a fertility specialist.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is causing this loss in fertility around the world?
Well, I think like all other diseases that are on the rise, and infertility, both male and female, are on the rise, and I think it's all secondary to inflammation.
Okay.
And the leading cause of inflammation, in my opinion, is a plant-based, low animal fat diet, and eating a lot of lean meat and a lot of plants that we in science and medicine and nutrition, and our experts around the globe are pretty much telling us this is what we should eat, and I think it's wrong.
Okay. It's actually interesting you're saying this because I had a call with my mum before we started, and shared that I was going on a call with a fertility clinic owner and a pro carnivore diet, and she actually shared with me that before conceiving me. She was actually overweight and she had pains, and she went for a scan and blood tests in order to see if she was able to conceive a baby. And they actually told her that she had a PCOS. And they just basically just flat out just told her, well, you've got PCOS. Deal with it. She did her research and she obviously found out about low carb diets, more animal, more fat, etc. Which she did. Lost a ton of weight, and first time she tried, here I am.
Voila. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it just comes to show the power of what you're preaching. For those listening, can you explain a bit what the carnivore diet is?
Well, carnivore diet is a animal or meat-based diet. And if you think about it, there are really only three primary diets. You're either a plant eater, an animal eater, or combined. So herbivore, omnivore, and carnivore. And none of this is new. It's been around forever. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, I call plant-caused ovarian sickness. And it's sort of things that I learned, like, because we're taught that meat is bad and don't eat animals because it's not good for us. And in fact, we've all been following that mostly Mediterranean or plant-based diet forever, and we're all getting sicker. Younger and younger people are getting sicker. They're getting more diseases, cancers, and suicidality, criminality, ADHD, OCD, depression. All of these things are related, I believe, to our diet. And it's been around for talking about this for a long time. But the beauty of social media is we're now able to share it in a way that everyone can learn for themselves. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a degree. You don't need to go to medical school. You don't need to be accepted to the university, proper credentials, and referred by someone who's going to let you in, which ultimately has been our problem in the world. And I've opened up on social media tremendously because it's like, wow, I can talk to Jared, and people around the globe have access. And I think that it's giving so much help and healing for people around the globe.
Yeah. Well, the saying, you are what you eat.
Absolutely. And I write about this. I blog about it. It's like all I ever talk about is this. And I think that reproduction is the foundation of life. I mean, we're all here because our primary prima facie reason we're here is for reproducing. And we're not reproducing as much as we used to, I believe, because we're all sick. We're sick in the head. We're sick in all of our endocrine glands, and every cell of our body is poisoned by plants.
By plants. If I were a vegetarian or a vegan or someone that believes that obviously meat or the carnivore diet is bad for a number of reasons, what would you tell me to convince me?
Well, the question was, if you're a vegan, vegetarian, or not one that believes in eating only meat, why and what can I do to help you understand that? And I'm just sharing ideas, by the way, that I think are helpful for all of us, that we're all here to understand the science of the human body. And if you believe that eating a plant-based diet only for whatever reason, or mostly plants, you can actually reduce inflammation tremendously in your body by going to one meal a day, adding fat. Fat eaten is anti-inflammatory when you eat it. And for a vegan, it's coconut oil, it's olive oil, maybe hemp seed oil. For a vegetarian, it's going to be butter, cream, cheese, and eggs. And so by eating less frequently, you allow the food in the gut to digest, to go into the liver, to be converted to fat, because amino acids and sugars go to the liver, and via insulin, they're converted to fat. And that's so important, basically. So by adding fat, eating less frequently, doing more fasting, and the other is cook the carbohydrates well. One, it kills the microbes. The microbes on the plants get into your gut and they ferment. Fermentation, basically, of the sugars and proteins in the gums, in the teeth, in the tonsils, the esophagus, and the stomach and the intestines ferments, which makes heat, alcohol, aldehydes, methane gas. Are those good for
Wow.
us?
Okay.
They're not good for
Absolutely
us.
not.
So people don't understand that there's many, many, many other things going on that we just don't understand. And so you can eat sugars. Basically, all plants break down to sugar. All fruit, vegetables, seeds, and nuts break down to sugar. Your body isn't going to say, well, wait a minute, this is asparagus, and this is a carrot, and this is quinoa. It like says, okay, wait a minute. Plants are breaking down to sugars. There may be some amino acids and some fatty acids in there, but it's mostly sugars. And they need to be converted to fat or you die. But the plants also contain chemicals: heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, gluten, latex, oxalates, phytates. Those are
Okay.
all plant products. Are they good
Mm-hmm.
for you? They're not.
Absolutely
Okay.
not. No.
So now you can get better on a plant-based diet when you do those things, and you may be fine. And many people live a long time and their disease profile might be low, but all plants break down to sugar, and sugar is good for you or bad for you.
It's bad.
It's considered bad for you. But that isn't completely true,
Depends the type of
because
sugar.
but essentially table sugar it comes from plants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care
It's
what plant it
beetroot.
is. They all convert to
Mainly, yeah.
sugar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so by you can be a vegan, vegetarian, or Mediterranean, which are high plant-based, low-fat diets, and but you're not going to be as healthy, in my opinion, if you go strictly carnivore, which is fatty meat. And I also recommend the fasting in that case also.
Okay. So you just put forward the non-inflammatory sides of what meat can bring, and if you do want to stick to, or at least some of the veggies and the carbs, you gotta cook it well. And what else do you say? Cook it well and
So
just
cook the carbs well, cook the
mm-hmm.
plants well to kill the microbes, simplify
kill the
the
microbes.
sugars, and
Mm-hmm.
nullify the chemicals of the antigens, either soaking or cooking or fermenting in some case will help do that to make it less toxic for our bodies.
Okay,
If you
that makes
think
sense.
about it, again, the food we eat is the food that we humans around the globe are used to eating, that likely are the least toxic of the foods that we evolved in our environment, right?
Mm.
But people die of mushrooms, people die of peanuts. Anaphylactic reactions happen mostly to either plants, shellfish, or fish. I've not have heard of any anaphylactic reactions to a ribeye steak. Have you?
Yeah, true. No, yeah,
No.
I'm actually allergic to peanuts.
And so but seeds and nuts are the leading inflammatory foods we eat. But
Mm-hmm.
we're told to eat seeds and nuts. Correct?
It's pretty contradictory. Yeah.
Now, when you use the word I'm allergic to, you probably are meaning that there's a high risk of you having a significant inflammatory reaction and dying, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But maybe arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, cancers, IBS are simply allergic reactions, but they're subtle at first, and over time they get more they get greater in their reaction, right? Or you've gotten a chronic disease rather than a subtle disease, right? A little stomach ache, a little bit of headache here and there, a little bit of eczema, psoriasis, you know, these are like nothing.
Nothing major. Nothing major.
It's the tip of the iceberg. And again, we are not very good at predicting when someone's going to die. We're not even very good at predicting who's going to get a disease or not. You know that, right? And so, and I don't know if carnivore diet means you're going to live 120 or 150. No one knows that, right? Because remember, we're exposed to what we breathe, drink, and eat, and what we put in and on our bodies, right? My environment, there are fake plants in my environment, but there's also the air and the chemicals from the furniture and all sorts of things.
The
We have to
plastics,
be
yeah.
aware,
Like,
right? Plastics but the interesting point here is that it still is most likely that the food you eat, the things you drink, is most at risk of causing damage, rather than the plastics we drink out of. But again, I'm not saying it's not a factor. It likely is a
yeah.
factor, but
it's just small compared to what we eat.
I think it's still the food more than anything.
No, that makes absolute sense. I discovered this whole sphere of the carnivore diet and how basically the food pyramid is a complete scam. I covered a whole episode on that a while back. And yeah, I just kept digging, falling in the rabbit hole of just all of this and seed oils and all of that. And I've been eating more and more meat, obviously, due to that. But there's this problem that arises, is that obviously I go to the gym pretty frequently, trying to get some body weight on, but well, not body weight, but more muscular mass. But I'm confronted to the situation where I'm on a budget. So if I want to get the necessary calories in, because my metabolism is over the roof. I mean, I could eat a ton and just not gain any weight. So I'm in this situation where to eat the calories necessary through meat and meat products, it's not cost effective when I compare it to eating it through carbs, pasta, etc. What do you think of that?
Well, maybe you're right, but local farmer is one way. Grow, raise your own chickens and your own eggs. I call it the baby's diet: bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt. And you go to the butcher and say, "Hey, you got lots of fat you've thrown away." Okay, you have a lot of fat. It's cheap. Okay, and so your health and wellness, your brain health, is worth the investment, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because that's when I eat the carbs and the stuff to get the calories in, I just get brain fog in the middle of the day, and then it impacts my work. So I'm in this thing where it's all over the place.
And so as you maybe pitch into a whole or a half a cow with some friends or family members, all right, or your neighbors, or hey, is there anyone out there? I would say that it is more affordable than people realize. Finding it is easier than you think, but you have to. It's like anything else; you have to hunt for it. Because, and I used to eat. I was a standard eater, Mediterranean eater, a lot of vegetables and fruits and seeds and nuts. I would say we spend a lot of money on things we throw out and never eat. Well, I'm telling you, I never throw out meat. It doesn't go bad. It's interesting. As you dry age the meat, it gets better. But if you allow the vegetables and the fruit to dry age, they decompose.
Yeah,
That's right. They rot. And so I think we need to realize that again, the paradigm needs to shift. The availability of meat is there, and again, it could be pork, chicken, lamb, goat. You go hunting for squirrels if you want. I stay away from those personally, but it is a radical concept and idea that we need to look at and realize that it is more affordable than and your health and wellness is worth it.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely been getting, like, for the past month and a half, maybe 2 months, even 3 months, I've been eating way more red meat. Like, I'd have a ribeye steak every day. Ribeye because, one, I believe it's the best cut. I guess you'd agree with that.
Yeah, but you can eat any meat of the animal, add the fat, and throw in some liver.
Add the fats. Okay.
And the more fat you eat, remember, so polar bears hunt ring seals, they have a significant amount of fat in their body. So when you eat fat, it's twice the calories of amino acid, proteins, or sugars, carbohydrates, plants. So, and pound for pound, fat is cheap. Okay? And most of the meat you buy has already been trimmed of the fat. Right. So you're actually buying the lower caloric content,
Of the meat, yeah,
thinking
okay.
it's
Yes, that's
healthier.
what I mean.
But in fact, polar bears eat the fat in order to get fat to survive the famine, the reproductive, the hunting, the migration. We are not supposed to be skinny, but you're right. Our metabolism is high when we're younger. I'm 68 in 2 weeks or less than that. At your age, you're in your 20s yet?
I'm 19, just turned 19.
19. Okay, so I knew it was close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I used to eat 6 meals a day. I barely worked out, and I was like this. And now I'm near my high school weight. I do some weightlifting. I do a little bit of walking, minimal running, and I do some sprinting stuff. But mostly I work, and I love work, and it's not hard. It's easy when you work and love work. But I think as we age, our metabolism changes. I mean, look at most people are skinnier when they're younger, and they gain weight over time. One is probably because our access to food is too high. So essentially, if we were back 50,000 years ago, I mean, what was the landscape? Where do you live?
Currently in England.
In England. What was the landscape 50,000 years ago?
Just pure forest.
Pretty much forest, and it was hunting, gathering. What did you gather?
Meat.
I mean, you hunted and you might gather, but we had smaller populations, and again more separated. I love the history of Europe, and there's a lot of been changes over the last 50,000 years,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah, it's fascinating.
And Dogger's Land, have you ever Dogger's Land? So the ocean has risen, and there's a lot of land that was available to allow man to travel between England, Ireland, and the mainland of Europe.
Of Europe, yeah.
And hunting was probably our primary way.
Mm-hmm.
But no one said let's go jogging and work out and burn some calories. Why?
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
And many carnivores, they again they're sparsed out in their territory, and they sleep a lot, 18 hours a day.
Wow, that's a long time.
And because for what reason do you have, unless you know how to hunt and you're following the herd, but you're not running, you're likely walking, and you're resting, and you're patient in the hunt, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You're just having a free history course at the same time.
Yeah, I love the history of humans because we evolved out of Africa as hunters. We came out of the trees, not to eat the grass, but to eat the grass eaters. We were really, really good. I keep my spear here. This was made by a good friend of mine, but ultimately we made spears, clubs, knives, hatchets, weapons out of rocks and trees, right?
Yeah. Did you ever use it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm prepared. That's my only weapon. But again, our food we eat is different than the food we evolved from. And now I have no idea what we ate 50,000 years ago. All right. Might we have eaten berries and tubers and seeds and nuts and fruits? Maybe. But in the wintertime, how much is there? Not a lot, right?
Yeah, that theory stands for sure. Yeah. Okay, so you would suggest for students that have a sort of tight budget and they want to eat more meat and get more calories is to get the cheaper meat which has less fat, and then get at the butchers or whatever, ask for the fat.
Yes, and again, go to the farmer, the
Mm-hmm.
rancher, and many of them are you can buy them directly from them, at least pre-buy them as they're getting butchered, and you may be able to also you're likely to be able to convince them to save the fat, and you'll get more fat along with that. But yeah, the cheaper meats are just as good, and they're just as nutrient dense. And the same goes with the heart, the kidneys, the liver, and other organs, which I think are much more affordable than ribeye steak, or
Yeah,
that's
clearly.
an expensive cut. You don't need it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we've got a local butcher here, and they happen to have what was it? Lamb liver, and it's dirty cheap. Honestly, it's dirty cheap. It's fresh.
Yeah,
It's what you
lamb
need there.
liver, pork belly, lamb belly, which is bacon, lamb
Mm-hmm.
bacon, pork bacon, beef bacon. There's no such thing as turkey bacon, by the way. It's fake meat.
Is it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I never touched chicken, turkey, chicken, fish, and generally what you're buying is lean. And I want to buy the fatty meats. If you're going to buy a chicken, a duck, or a turkey, make sure you're getting the fattiest. You want to bake it, save all the fat, eat the skin, the organ meats, and the
That's what I do. Yeah.
and the fat.
Okay, good to know.
You can do that, but I think that's you got to be careful about. Again, lean meat. There's something called protein poisoning, and a lot of people do a lot of lean meat, but they're also potentially damaging themselves.
Okay, so there's interesting. Yeah, because going back to ribeye steak, when I compared the price of just a 250-gram steak and then the whole chicken was cheaper.
Oh, and
But
and
yeah,
and that's okay as long as you're making sure you're eating the fat, because you cook the bird, the fat drips
yeah,
off, and most
I keep
people,
yeah. They
you
just
got to
yeah.
eat the fat. But I still think beef is really what we evolved on, because you and I weren't going chicken hunting 50,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's too small. The
There
energy
might
that
be
you
a
spend
dodo
to
bird. There were some
yeah, the
large
dodo,
birds that
yeah.
we likely hunted for because you went for the fattiest and the largest, because otherwise you're not getting enough food
Yeah,
for
exactly. Yeah, no,
your family.
you'd be efficient to if you're spending that much energy to hunt an animal. You want it to be as thick and fat and big as possible. That does
Yep,
make sense.
yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What are some of your favorite meats? Do you primarily eat
I'm
beef
boring. I'm boring. It's beef. It's
or
it's
just beef?
ribeye steak. Every time I go with
It's
something else,
delicious, but yeah.
it's just the very best. I get a particular place. I like to get the fattiest marbled. I personally love grain
Ooh.
finished. That's what I go for. I add maybe a little blue cheese and butter, a Malden's Redmond's, or some sea salt is really good in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And I typically do about a fistful of steak a day. I typically eat one meal a day. And again, it's a fatty ribeye is my 99% go-to. Last night I had oysters, I had scallops, I had lobster, and I actually had a little bit of a sea bass. But it still wasn't. I was at a dinner with a couple of people, and it's like we
It's
kind of
nice, but
shared.
it's not
Eh,
it.
It just didn't. It just didn't. Mm. So, and I love cooking at home. No matter what, I get the very best steak. It's really a game
Yeah.
changer to
That
me. But I
I'm a
think
huge
that's
fan of
best.
duck. Like duck
Oh,
is
duck!
amazing.
I
It's
do love duck.
oh yeah.
You're right. Right.
Yeah,
I
just duck
love
and just
duck.
with the fat, it's just amazing.
But I don't know why I don't cook it as much, because I think it's just hasn't been my habit.
Yeah, perhaps. But who knows? You might get into the rhythm of actually having more duck in the future.
I will look at that for sure.
You mentioned grain finished. For those that don't know, can you explain the term of grain finished, grass fed, grain fed?
Well, the omega 3s and 6 ratios are changed in the grass finished versus grain finished.
Okay.
Now, most cattle are raised on grass, mostly pastured, and then they're finished with grass or grains, meaning that before they're slaughtered, they're fed a high diet in grains, which fattens them up, and or just allowed to focus on the grass and the ratios, which I'm not sure I believe the science on this, because
You
I've
can't, you
never
can't,
really
yeah, all the studies now, it's so confusing to what to believe or not.
I don't even know what my omega 3/6 ratio should be. I don't think there's any real good science on it personally. And did cattle eat a high grain diet through the evolution? No, it was purely on pasture land. But we realize that we fatten them up a little bit better, and I think they're tastier. And I personally, my bias is that I don't think the science is strong enough to tell us one way or the other. Certainly, the grain finished is the most prominent out there, which may help lower the cost of our meats. But
Okay.
we're going to see more and more pasture raised, free range, naturally fed, and maybe a minimal amount of grain finished. But I still think that's like the most powerful and taste the best.
Perfect. Can you list us the different kinds of carnivore diets you can find? I know there's like keto diets. Are there
Well,
any other
well, well,
variants?
well. Think of again. It is your keto is a scientific term for the physical body metabolically going into a ketogenic state. That means your glucose levels drop and your ketone levels rise. Which, when ketone levels are higher, it means you're in a state of low sugar.
Okay.
There tends to be less inflammation in a low sugar environment, but you don't have to be in ketosis to really live that or get the benefits of that, in my opinion. Many people don't particularly have a high ketones, yet they're still in a low inflammatory environment anyway. So paleo diet is a description of our evolutionary diet as a hunter gatherer. An herbivore is an animal that eats only plants. A carnivore is an animal that eats only animals. And
Mm.
a omnivore eats both.
Both.
Okay?
Hmm.
And so paleo, keto, Atkins, 30 this, 40 that, there are infinite diets out there. I'm not an expert on all of them, but they're all confusing to me and complicated. A carnivore diet to me is eat animals, stay away from plants.
Hmm.
And that's an easy way to do it. Now, I do the baby's diet. Some people do the triple BE, bacon, butter, beef, and eggs. I do bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt. That spells babies, pronounced babies for me, because I'm in the baby making business. And it's anti-inflammatory, and it's pro-pregnancy.
So that's what you would tell your clients to adopt,
I
right?
I recommend a paleo keto diet, and
Okay.
carnivore happens to be a keto diet. It's a high fat. The majority of your calories, 80% of your calories, or about 50% by volume, should come from fat and protein. And we have no requirement to ever eat a plant. But basically, think of paleo and keto diets as high fat, medium to low protein, no to low carbs, and always think of a carb as a plant,
Okay.
period. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, seems clear to me. What's your take on lab grown meat?
it's fake food.
Yeah.
And so we're basically we're prey for the predators who want to sell us a propaganda of a deadly diet.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you ever eat fake meat? Well, because your brain wants you to eat meat. The lions have convinced you to be lamb or pigs, cows, and sheep. And so what do I think about fake meat? I mean, how does industrialized food make any sense? We're actually getting sick on an industrial scientific approach to nutrition. But we actually have to get back to our roots.
Mm.
But don't eat the roots. Don't smoke the roots. Don't inject the roots. Feed them to your food and eat the meat. Be the
And eat the
master.
meat. Yeah. No, I found lab grown meat crazy. Like, they're all about, yeah. What's your take on how they say that meat, so mainly cows, are one of the biggest drivers of climate change?
Well, the last I looked, humans are the driver of climate change.
Yeah.
Not cows. Animals are not the driver of climate change. So our industrial production and our modern agricultural habits have decimated the world, the natural pasture lands of these animals that roamed freely for thousands and millions of years. And cows do belch and fart, so do humans. And, every time they try to give me the number of cows versus humans, to me, it kind of looks like the human footprint has damaged the world, and the cows are just trying to refertilize the land in order to replenish the natural foods that the land is meant to provide. And so, again, it's a picture and a story of propaganda that people unfortunately believe the lie, because once you eat plants, you become addicted to them. You become easily manipulated into being the minions of followers instead of recognizing that you are a lion and a leader. All of us are lions and leaders around the globe. All of us are the gods. And yet, when you eat plants, you become addicted to them. In fact, the plants control the message and the story.
Okay. So plants are addictive. So is that through their sugar content? Or
Well, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, nicotine, caffeine are their addictive substances. So name an addictive meat substance.
Yeah, no.
Who's injecting beef into their veins?
No one, yeah.
No one, right?
And the addictive side is just so good.
So the moment someone gets a little bit of heroin, cocaine, or marijuana, tobacco, or caffeine, are they easily turned away from it? They're not.
No, absolutely not.
So the people who propagate a plant-based meat diet, fake meat essentially, are also propagating alcohol, drugs, tobacco, caffeine, and making available to the beautiful human beings that are easily damaged and become addicted on these things.
It's crazy. Yeah, all of this is mad. It's especially how I've always believed that fat makes you fat. Like, oh, don't eat the fat off that steak or you're gonna gain some weight.
Well, if there's a famine, would you rather be fat or skinny?
Oh, fat.
Is getting fat physiologically important for humans? Yes, it is.
I guess how you get fat changes, right? Because if you get fat through, is it the same? If you get fat through veggies and refined sugars and industrial meals and etc., then getting fat through meat and other natural.
Let's say that's all
stuff.
the food you have for right now, and there's a famine coming in 6 months, and you're going to do everything you can to get fat fast, recognizing that there's not going to be food coming up in 6 months. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, what you eat also contributes to the cause of disease. So plant sugars, plant antigens, plant chemicals, and the fermentation of the plants in the gut cause our disease. And so you may be lucky enough to get fat and not sick enough to die to survive the famine, or you might get sick and not survive it because diabetes, a stroke, um, um, brain aneurysms and ruptures,
Mhm.
and all these sort of things show up because of the reactions to phytohemagglutinins, to other chemicals in plants that cause diseases that may cause you to die right away. But ultimately, again, just think seasonal eating. Again, in the spring, there may be more food for us to attack and kill in order to get enough fat on our body to
For winter.
survive the fall and the winter. And that's why getting fat is critical. And basically, you either eat fat, which goes to the lymphatics and it's distributed everywhere in your body, or you eat protein or sugars, which go to the liver, and via insulin, the majority of them are converted to fat. And the
Are those two
job,
different kinds of fats, or are they the same fats? Same fats.
they're fats. Remember, the fat in the cow is made by eating grass. The sugars in the grass go to the liver, and via insulin, they're converted to fat and they're stored as saturated fat. So you're making fat, which is not deadly or damaging for you. You're making saturated fat in the liver via sugars and amino acids. But the problem is we're eating, I don't know. I have no idea what I do. I have no idea.
I'm so confused.
So it basically, again, these ideas are radical. But see, I think we have the science of the human body wrong. We have the science of the liver and insulin wrong. And we have the science of the cause of disease mostly wrong.
What do you think is the cause of this? Is it just our blunt errors, or is it actually someone trying to not hide the truth, but like discern us from the truth?
Well, let's just say science is changing, evolving over time.
Mm-hmm.
And what we knew then is different today because we have a different way of observing it or doing different studies. But fat doesn't make sense that it's a cause of disease, because if you have no fat on your body, how long are you going to live?
Not long.
Look at emaciated people that are skin and bones, muscle, bones, and no fat. They're highly at risk of dropping dead fast. And so what's the function of fat in the human body? What's the number one function?
Energy. Storing energy, yeah.
Okay, so now when you eat your meal right now, and I'm eating vegetables, fruit, seeds, nuts, and lean meat, is any of that the energy of my body right now?
No.
Now, why not? Because fat is the energy of your body, not sugar. Mitochondria do not burn sugar at all. You must convert sugars to fat in the liver in order to be energy for your mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have no insulin, you're a type 1 diabetic. The pancreas doesn't make insulin because it's been damaged for some reason, probably consuming a plant, more than likely, or a microbe gets into your body and damages it. But technically, there should be no microbes in the pancreas. They get there because of the damage to the gut via a plant-based low animal fat diet. Okay. And so basically we eat food, the digestive system extracts the amino acids, simple sugars, and fatty acids, and the minerals and vitamins, and then it distributes throughout your body. And so if you have no insulin, you can eat all you want, but you will become skinny, emaciated, and die. It was the discovery of insulin that we then began to give insulin to type 1 diabetics, prevented them from going into a coma and dying. Before insulin, the treatment was a ketogenic and or an animal fatty meat diet.
Interesting.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because fat contains amino acids, simple sugars, fatty acids. It's anti-inflammatory, and it's the fuel for the mitochondria. It does not go to the liver. It goes to the lymphatics, which it's then distributed everywhere. Remember, our fat is generally distributed symmetrically, but we tend to build more fat in the belly, in the butt, in the breasts. So, you can see people that they go up and down in their fat amounts and distribution. Do they go up and down in their muscle distribution?
No.
No, they don't. How about your bone distribution?
No.
Nope. Bears that hibernate for 6 months at least, they lose a tremendous amount of fat. They lose no muscle, no bone. They don't eat, piss, poop, or drink for most of that time, and they yet will develop baby cubs, bears, right? 1, 2, 3, or 4 in cases. They didn't eat. So where did they get the building blocks and the energy for those babies developing?
Through fat.
Adipose tissue. We might say adipose tissue because adipose tissue is the most important tissue of your body.
Where is that located? Is that everywhere?
Everywhere. Well, again,
yeah.
So think of it. Think of my subcutaneous fat as a coat of fuel, but it also builds intramuscularly, intra-abdominally. It develops around the belly, in the back, right? And in the bone marrow also, by the way. Why does it build up like that? And remember, it comes and goes. It comes and goes. Because it is the building blocks and the fuel for your body. Muscle and protein is not the building block and fuel for your body. And so a liver failure patient becomes emaciated and skinny, even though they have glucose and insulin running high in their bloodstream. But the problem is they do not have a liver whose primary job is to convert amino acids and sugars to fat fast in order to make fat, which is ultimately the fuel for your body and the building blocks for your baby.
Okay. So would you argue that obese people are then healthy to a certain degree, or is having too much fat at some points unhealthy?
Well, if you're morbidly obese and you cannot get up and go to work or the bathroom or do hunting and gathering, and as we historically did, right, then that's unhealthy. But what are the odds in a hunter-gatherer society that there was obesity?
It's none.
It's not active.
Yeah.
Right. So the only reason we're obese is because we have over access to food and the wrong food. And is it easy not to eat food when it's around?
It's not easy.
Why
it's
would
easy
that?
to eat, yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy to not eat food when it's around because, listen, everyone thinks that our brain says, well, gee, I'm hungry and I'm going to eat. I want to go eat. Well, your body says go find food. And so if food was available, 50,000 years ago, like a beautiful fruit tree, ripe, and you said, you know what, I'm just going to wait a week because that's not good for me, and I'm going to wait for the bison to come by. So you've missed the opportunity to eat the food that will build the fat to allow you to hunt the bison or go a week, 2 or 3 without food. And my bet is we did that. And so now that we have abundant food around us, your brain still thinks that access to food is hard and going to be difficult. And if I don't eat it today, I'm going to die tomorrow.
So it's instinct.
It's all instinct. Everything we do is instinct. Is it easy not to eat food? Of course not, because your instinct says eat the food that's there today to get fat enough so you'll survive the famine next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because how easy is it to lose weight, go on a diet?
It's
hard.
It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard.
On the diet, we've been taught to eat. But if you eat the meat and eliminate the plants, it's easy.
That's what my mom did. Yeah.
And remember this. Think about the fall, okay? Let's say in the fall, the fruit are ripening, the berries are ripening, the tubers and the squash are ripening, and they're more abundant right now. Okay, there's a reason to eat that, what you can find in our gathering environment, in order to get fat, because most of the ripening fruit is actually mostly sugar, and it's sweeter, and it's going to go to the liver via insulin, be converted to fat, so you can survive the famine. Bears get fat in the fall, correct? So let's just say we're more bear-like and omnivore-like, that we likely ate that way in order to get fat. Now we've been analyzing the environment, I don't know for how long, if you look at our anthropology and sociology, our cultural experiences, but what was the environment like in our early evolutionary environments where we were hunters primarily? How much food was available in the cattle and other herbivores, and we were few and far between. Maybe and likely it was the dawn of agriculture and the ability to control not only the livestock but the plants, in order to make more food that allowed us to be more sedentary, in order to then get more fat again, or at least fuel the reproductive potentials of our humanity, which grew our populations. But when you have less food available because we were primarily carnivores, and hunting is not easy, we were lower in our population and lower in our carbon footprint. Does this make any sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But it's kind of radical concepts and ideas. Again, we are here today as omnivores. Eating plants is not the sole cause of disease. But in general, in our evolution of eating, food that is quick to cook, easy to store, and easy to have delivered, the majority of what we're eating is a plant-based and low-fat diet.
So you would put the main blame on vegetables and fruits and
plants, which essentially are, again, fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts, and a lean meat diet, because plant protein, plant poisoning, and protein poisoning are real.
Okay. And would you put the blame more on plants or industrialized foods and additives and sugar? Like,
I would put it on plants
more
over additives.
That bad? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would put it on, because ultimately the plants have taken over the world, and they've controlled human beings more than any of us know, and many other organisms also, by the way. But again, these ideas are crazy. Now, is it the fast food industry? Is it the additives? Is it the sugar they're sprinkling everywhere? It's the marketing. And the beauty of social media, we now have access to share our message in a way that's never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not spending a lot of money on this platform, are you?
No.
No.
Not much.
So now, regular human beings like you and I, and by the way, everyone's a regular human being. We all piss, poop, breathe, fart, all these things together. Doesn't matter the president, the pope, or the peasant. All the same. And I would say that I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm here to take full responsibility of my life and not blame anyone.
No, it's our advice. Yeah, absolutely. It's our advice, our thoughts.
And we're sharing a message.
And we're sharing them.
That is game-changing. I just talked to a young gal, 35, Ehlers-Danlos, lupus, gastrointestinal problems, infertility, depression, go down the list. She's had 100 doctor visits in the last 5 years, trying everything. She's never really heard that carnivore is the key and plants are the poisons. And she was like shocked.
Did she try it yet?
She's going to.
Okay.
Because
I
nothing else she's done is working. Look, I was shocked when I first did this. And I would tell you, don't believe Kiltz. And I don't care if you're waiting for the paper that's going to convince you. You only need to talk to a person like yourself that's sharing the word. And there are thousands, millions of human beings that are beginning to share the story and help everyone on this healing journey of taking over your life. Stop blaming anyone for anything in your life. Take full responsibility.
Take full accountability.
100%. And have faith in God.
Before we dive into the whole God questions I've got, what does your typical day look like? And what will you eat? Well, from what I heard, you don't eat much.
I typically get up at 3 a.m. I usually do some meditation and prayer.
3 a.m.?
3 a.m. every day.
That's mad. Okay.
Except for the last 2 weeks, it's been hard because I've been in Australia and then getting back here, the time change is a little challenging. But typically,
jet lag.
Up at 3, cold water, cold shower. I either do my weights then, my push-ups then, my walking and sprinting or my biking then. But lately, I get up, I do my meditation and prayer, my push-ups, cold water. I come to work. It's a 30-minute drive. I listen to a book, positive inspiration, science, listen to different people and their different journeys.
My podcast.
Your podcast, absolutely, absolutely, Jared. And so, and then when I get to work, usually an hour, I'm doing some extra reading. I'm listening to things. Sometimes I'll do a little 10-minute meditation. I'll close my eyes for 10 minutes, but I just go through my meditation, my gratitude. And then I'm usually on my 5 a.m. live in Eastern Time, USA. I get some people from Europe, from Australia, and some people from the Americas at 2 a.m. And then I work. I start talking to patients at 6 a.m. I do some surgeries. I do a lot of phone or video conferencing from people around the globe. And then I usually finish by 4 p.m. I have some meetings sometimes. I do an interview. I usually get home about 5. I get on either the treadmill or the bike. I do some weights and lifting for about 30 minutes. I'll then usually make my ribeye steak. And I usually will do some other reading or blogging or listen to other blogs like yourself and get inspired. What else is going on around the world? And I'm usually to bed by 9 o'clock.
Okay. So you only get 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours of sleep, I guess, is enough.
Oh, and I take 1 to 3 naps a day.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioned that in one of your lives.
So I'll either do a 6:30 or a 4:30, 10-minute nap, but it's meditation. I'll do a 2 o'clock nap. I'll do a 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock nap, 10 minutes. and it's
Yeah,
meditation and prayer.
just to recharge. Yeah.
You see, napping resets the synapse. And so sleep rejuvenates. We've lost our sleep drive. We're powering it with energy drinks, with oh, I got to get moving, I got to go. But lions and tigers and cats and dogs nap a lot to reset the synapse. Again, we're go. You want to actually go nap. Go nap. That is the very best to me.
Why is resetting the synapse essential?
Well, if you're up, we know if you're deprived of sleep, your brain doesn't function very well, and your energy is depleted. So there's something about sleep that probably regenerates the synapses. It probably regenerates ATP, glycogen stores, which are for glycosylation, by the way, not for energy production. Whole nother story. But again, more sleep. But I don't think we need to do 18 hours of sleep at one time or 9 hours. Again, my bet is most animals, they're always alert to the environment. And but they nap more. And don't you feel better after a nap?
Yeah.
And,
well, it
and
depends.
so,
If I take a 3-hour nap, I'm just a zombie. But yeah, a quick
well,
15-minute nap, I just bam. Even an
right, but
hour.
you're also a little bit of a zombie because you've been programmed to believe that. Okay? I mean, you get up,
Okay.
you just stretch, and you're standing in the sunlight. You're believing, oh my God, I feel great. But we've been mostly programmed to believe in the negative. I'm not doing so good. Let me get my
That's very
coffee or
true.
my power drink, rather than freaking shit, man. I feel amazing. Wow. I woke up. I had amazing
It's all about
dreams.
mindset.
It's all mindset. Again, the mind is the master of the mission. I don't care if you're a vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, carnivorian, whether you're an atheist, theist, or spiritualist. I don't care where you are in this. The mind is the master of the mission of your life.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you take any supplements, by the way, or just pure?
My good friend Ben
Eggs.
Azadi, the best supplement is gratitude. Well, again, gratitude to me is thank you, God, Lord, Creator, for the day. That is the best. Now, I sell supplements because I also care for people in all walks of nutrition. And I think the very best thing you can do is go carnivore, eat the organ meats, and eat less frequently, and you'll heal tremendously, and you need no supplements. But I don't take any supplements. I drink a little bit of coffee here and there. I've been mostly off coffee. I do a little bit of ice cream. I make it. I maybe have
Yeah,
a
I had
cookie
your
cake.
ice cream.
It's the best. And again, I'm not
What are the
saying
ingredients
never.
in your ice cream?
Eggs, cream, vanilla bean, pinch of salt. I use a little touch of cane sugar, but if you want a little bit of honey, a little fruit, you
Yeah,
could
raw
throw in
honey.
some
Okay, yeah.
stevia if you want. But again, you don't need any of that. But a little bit of sugar, in my opinion, is not the cause of disease. Even if you want to eat a little bit of plants or fruit, unless you have an anaphylactic reaction to something you wish you didn't eat.
Makes sense.
And I don't know anyone who's had an anaphylactic reaction to
Meats,
simple
yeah.
sugar or simple
Or
sugar
fats.
also.
Or simple sugar, yeah. Yeah, true.
Yep.
True. I'll link your supplements. You sell supplements, right? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
molecular fertility supplements is what we sell. And again, it's, for people who aren't in the keto carnivore space yet, they may get some value from them. Although if you look at the FDA guidelines, probably we really haven't proven that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I also sell an organ meat and a liver supplement for those people that don't want to eat the organ meats or the livers themselves, which I think is important and helpful, although there's still some controversy whether or not you have to take any of those supplements.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to link them down below because it is interesting and for anybody that's interested in looking into that. So I'll make sure I do that. I think it's time to to talk about God. What's your relation with God, Robert?
Well, can of worms, they might say, right? You can't talk about religion, politics, or food. Gets us all in trouble.
Yeah.
But to me, the thing that really binds humanity is our spiritual belief in higher power. And I was raised Catholic. I call myself Christian in the philosophy of the spiritual leader that spoke the words, wrote the words, shared the ideas. Maybe. They're all stories. Hindu gods, the Buddhist gods, the Islamic gods, the Jewish gods, the Christian gods, human gods. Again, they're ancient. We looked to the skies to talk to God. We're talking to ourselves because we are the gods. There's no God but God, and we're human beings are the writers and the creators of the God story. But the belief in that power is the most powerful thing human beings have, because people don't understand the power of their brain, their thoughts. So if you follow a negative concept in God, you will feel the pain, the sorrow. If you follow the positive ideas of a God, you will live a more healthful, happy life. Now, the interesting part about that is the experiences of your life don't matter, but it's what you think of those experiences that actually become good or bad. The secret of life is we are God. Every thought you think creates the things that you live with. And
So
so
you believe
you'll
in manifestation?
well, it's the law of attraction. So basically, we're a receptor, a receiver, and a transmitter. And you probably have this experience where you thought of something and then it shows up. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa,
What?
what happened? How'd that happen? Because electromolecular energy is really what everything is. And again, this is our story. It's theory. But to me, as a physician and a scientist, it makes the most sense because a cell, a molecule, an atom is electromolecular force. It's stuff we describe, but we can't see. We feel it, but we can't understand it completely. And so human beings explain the unexplainable via God. But the story we create is only the interpretation that the brain creates because of the environmental exposures and or the story we think, which creates our reality. But ultimately, human beings are God because we're the storytellers of the dogs, the cats, the dolphins, the spiders, the bugs, the beasts, the devils, the angels. And we've pictured and painted, pictured and told stories of everything in existence. That's God. Now, I personally believe in the thinking positive thoughts rather than thinking negative thoughts.
Of course, yeah.
I
As you.
believe that every experience that I've ever had has been working in my favor to improve my life. Even the losses, the failures, the pain, the sorrow, the depression, those are all part of the path which essentially builds our art of life.
Yeah. No way. Yeah, absolutely.
We are all the artists. And our DNA is built to hear vibrational sounds at a certain wavelength, to see certain colors at a certain wavelength, to interpret the environment based on our human brain cells and our interpretation of the environment. That is God.
That's an interesting perspective, an interesting take. I had a guest on last week, Michael Fricker, who's also a fellow self-improvement content creator. And he said something along the lines of what you just said, is that emotions are meant to be felt, and along your life, you're going to feel emotions, and it's just part of the journey. And it's part of how you feel, and you've got to just feel them. You can't just pursue happiness all the time, right? That's hedonistic. You've got to just, and when you do feel sad, or when you do feel sorrow or anger, just understand where it comes from, and just feel it.
And those are manipulated by the thoughts we think, the food we eat, and the environment we expose ourselves to.
Exactly.
And essentially, human beings have emotions up and down and all around. But the one most important, amazing thing that part of this carnivore story and faith story and fasting story, 1 meal a day, do a 2 to 3 day fast once a month, a 5 to 7 day fast at least once a year, and be very discerning of what you put in your mind and your mouth. And we're all learning. The beauty of this story is we're learning from others that have already been on the journey for infinite years and shared a story that you and I can read about or listen to and communicate in ways. Again, I'm as special as everyone and anyone. I don't care your degree, education, your economics, your life level, as some people might call it. What category do you fall in? Which is all just a story.
Labels, yeah.
It's a label. The best label I can give myself is God. Can there be any label greater than we're all gods?
That's true. That is an interesting perspective.
Do you believe in God?
Yes. Yeah, it's funny. I was baptized a Catholic Christian in France, and I always sort of followed God in my younger years. I then lost sight of God towards when I was, I guess, I don't even know, maybe 13, 14. It's the age where you start to actually understand concepts and realize. And I just thought that this is stupid. So I was then an atheist for another good part of my life until I rediscovered God about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And since then, I'm on the path to be the best version of myself. I just feel great, and I just needed to reconnect to this.
The philosophy and stories of humanity. It's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a philosophical story. Religions, I think, are very powerful and important because it's our glue that brings us together. And the more we realize that Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Jaist, Jain, Taoist, and we're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all a story of how we can all heal and live a better life together.
Yeah, and now we've got a problem now because we're losing faith around the globe, especially in Europe. I mean, if you look at France, for example, in the 1900s, we were like maybe 90% Catholic Christian, or at least in belief of a higher power or God. I think we're down to like 26% now.
Well,
it's all over Europe.
It's cyclical.
You think it's going to come back?
Of course, but different. So remember, pain pushes you and the light pulls. The universe is seasonal. Nothing is always like this.
Nothing is stagnant.
It's all like it's the music of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And so our
it's
belief
like weather,
systems
like
are all evolving, right? Our belief systems are evolving. If you're stagnant and believing only this is the problem with science and medicine. I believe this. That's why being a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian, carnivore, they all can live beautiful lives. Being a theist, an atheist or an agnostic, all can live beautiful lives when you understand the philosophy of humanity and the truth about the gods. We are all the gods. Jesus loved and forgave. True gods love and forgive. That's the part that I think is the foundation of Christianity as a philosophy and a glue to help humanity. But so is the Muslim, Islamic, the Jewish, the Hindu, the Buddhist, the cultural ways that we all have more similarities than ever before.
Amazing. That's well said, Robert. Yeah, it's just you've got to be intentional daily. It goes back to the book, The Art of Living with Intent. How do your daily habits, especially your diet and lifestyle, contribute to your well-being success when following the principles of your book?
Well, what's the definition of success?
That's very personal. It depends on everybody, right?
Well, we're alive. You've already succeeded. And the life you live is the life you're meant to live. And all humans succeed. And so, but I practice something to help me see the world as a blossoming flower and a beautiful fruit. Because I've got to do the work to see other humans differently than quite often we've been led to believe. There's nothing wrong with the world. It's perfect. Because it's all created by whom?
By God.
By God. Does God know what God's doing? Always. Yeah. Always. And so my daily habits help me better communicate with the things that my instinct often wants to run away from or attack. Fight or flight, right? But I think our philosophy of the writers, of the spiritual seekers, have given us a better way to tame the monster and the devil. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Well, it's going to be a wrap-up soon, man. It's perfect. Just before we end off, just what are some of your favorite books?
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Okay.
The Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yes. Yeah, but that's my dad's favorite book. I've read it a while back. I've got to read it again.
Ken Follett.
Okay.
A World Without End. And I love reading history books, biographies. I love listening to books. But ultimately, Man's Search for Meaning, Three Magic Words, and The Alchemist. And if you haven't listened to The Alchemist, I highly recommend it. Jeremy Irons reads it. I love listening to books. You see, I believe we're more auditory than we are readers. We're visual and kinesthetic learners. I'm a visual kinesthetic learner, but I think we all really are. But we've lost that because we've been thrown into a classroom behind a desk like a jail. We're all meant to learn by exploring and experiencing. I learned to fly airplanes by doing. I fly airplanes and jets. I learned at 55, and I'm still learning. But I think the most important part is we're doing things. We're at high risk of failing.
Yeah, failure is the best teacher.
It's the best teacher. And again, you're alive to risk life sooner than you know.
Yeah, it's worth the risk. It's worth the
absolutely
to take
and,
it.
I mean, and we live in an environment that's so magical today, so many opportunities. You have to get up and get out and go to work every day. And you got to love work. That's the very best thing that I've learned in life is go to work every day. You're born with nothing. and you take nothing with you. While we're here, let's be better human beings to each other. Let's put the weapons away. Let's have a barbecue, or just let's have a Mediterranean meal.
Let's have
I
some
don't
real
care, or a
steak.
vegan meal. It's all okay. All right? Because I work with vegetarians and vegans and Mediterraneans and everyone. We're not here to make us all the same, by the way.
No, we have to respect each other's choices, and yeah.
I've just personally found that by 55, I was about to die or kill myself from suffering from physical ailments and mental ailments. I personally went mostly carnivore and fasting. Game changer. And God is in the mirror.
God is in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be my last question, Robert. If you were to do it all again, when it comes to your carnivore diet, what would you do differently? What do you wish you knew? And what advice would you give to people that want to take the first step into a carnivore diet?
We're all afraid. We're all nervous. We're all anxious in one way or another. Get up and go do it anyway. No matter what the fear is. And ask more questions and ask for more help. That's what I would do differently. And I would expose myself to more diversity in my life. Different ideas, different people, different cultures. We're learning from each other, different languages. We're learning from each other. The beauty of AI today is that we can communicate with everyone and anyone, and we don't have to learn the language, although it's valuable to do that. Mm-hmm. There are ways to communicate way around the world. And that's what we're doing. I mean, we could take this entire video and have it translated to every language of the world.
Yeah.
And people, the beauty is they can say, hey, I want to get this. I want to listen to this and I want to read it. I need to change the language. Let me have it transcribed and into this different language. And that's the beauty. And so, I never look at my life and say, boy, I wish I did something differently. I'm sharing the story of me in the future. I'd be like, hey, you're amazing. Take the risk. Yes.
Where can you find you, Robert, on social media?
The best place to find Dr. Kiltz is at drkiltz.com. DocTorKiltz.com. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and all those adventures. drkiltz.com is the very best way. And I'm really grateful to you, Jared, for having me on today, and to everyone out there. Again, we're on an amazing journey sharing together, and I'm learning from you and everyone else on this path.
It was a pleasure, man. Honestly, I love your perspectives, your energy. It's contagious. So I thank you for this, and I honestly wish you the best for what comes next. And just stay safe and take care.
Every day. God bless.